and welcome everybody. I'm Mugiwawa and I'm joined by Wangle tonight for a very nice Mugi's prime time. Tonight it's once again in the mind of a pro and we have a player from a team that we didn't get here yet. It's from Rogue. We have Wangle, like I said already. How are you doing, Wangle, tonight?
I am doing great. I'm having a good time. It's a good morning where I'm at. Back 8, 9 hours behind you, so sorry if my camera's a little bit blurry, but yeah, it's going good today. Excited to be here. Thank you for having me on this show, of course, and yeah, excited to get into it.
Thank you for accepting my invitation. And yeah, you're right. That's at some point, I will finally manage to do it. Every time I just hello everybody. It's good to have you tonight. I always forget that there is NA people out there that are not in the same time zone as I am. It's a weird world that we're living in. Where not
Oh
everyone
yeah.
is at 8:30 p.m. At that point. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely get it. I had to deal with the jet lag just really recently, having returned here from being in EU, and let me tell you, that 8 hour time difference, it messes with you.
Yeah.
It was getting tired at 6 p.m. and then waking up at 5, 6 a.m. in the morning just felt normal, and it threw you off quite a lot.
And I don't know if it's in that direction that it's actually harder or the other way around, because here I think you have you remove time, and so I don't know how
Yeah,
what jet lag is the worst.
I'd say it depends on the time of year, because when you go to England in the winter, the sun is out for maybe 6, 7 hours a day. And the sun is what helps you get used to jet lag. So when you don't see the sun, your body is like, I have no clue what time it is right now. So if you're going over to England in the winter, it messes with you a lot.
Okay.
But then besides that, it can really be either way. Sometimes it'll be just really easy. Sometimes it just messes with you for a full week.
So just for the people that are watching us and that don't exactly know you, can you just remind people so you're playing for Rogue? What is your role inside Rogue, and also who are your teammates overall in that team?
Yeah, so I'm Wangle. I was formerly known as the Wire Angel, if any of you might know me by that name. Recently changed the name. I play mid lane for Rogue. My teammates, we have Blue Jay in the jungle. We have Tekken Kid in the off lane. We have Pinzo Dunzo, the streamer, as our support, and we have Haru as our ADC.
Very nice. And you mentioned so that you came back to USA recently, and so you told me before we go live a little bit about the false EU or the false NA. Can you shed a bit of light on that part,
Yeah,
please?
so I born in America, grew up here, and then once I graduated high school, I went and started studying in England. And so, playing the game from England, I'm over there most of the year. But because born here, grew up here, they don't fully call me EU, even if I have an English passport. They don't call me fully EU because I was born here. So they refer to me as the fake EU over there. So
Okay.
it's always fun to get
So you're
recognized and called that.
yeah, you're in good position. Basically, if EU is the best region in the end, you can just say hey, I'm a EU enjoyer. If it's NA the
Oh
best
yeah.
region, you can say I'm an NA enjoyer. So you're in the good spot. You can always choose
Oh yeah.
the best
Yeah,
side.
it's great. It was, I was in EU for the whole time of Immune winning, and I'm like, I'm EU. EU's great. I love EU. And then as soon as Royalty won the last PCC, I was like, you know what? I'm going back to America in 2 weeks. NA all the way. Let's go. So, there's not really any losing for me. I either get the best of both worlds or the worst of both worlds, whatever way you want to see it. So,
Yeah, definitely. I would say in this type of situation, when you have a final between the two region, you're always winning in the end. So I kind of see the
yeah.
glass half full all the time. So that's very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, I have exclusively only played on NA teams, so, you know, that's also another reason I could be referred to as the fake EU, but, you know, I bounce back and forth.
Yeah. Also, like, I would like to ask you, like, what got you into Predecessor, and like, for how long have you been like following like the project overall?
Okay, yeah. So it started back in Paragon. So my story with the whole scene is a little bit complicated. So at the time, uh, when I got Paragon, I bought it for my dad's birthday. It
Okay.
wasn't a game for me. I was not the person that was getting the game. It was a birthday gift to my dad. I was, I think, 12 at the time, and it was back when when it was early access. We still have like the actual CD in its case somewhere in the house. Uh, and I was like 12, 13 at the time, and I was watching him play it, and neither of us had never played a MOBA before, and then ended up being like, this game seems kind of cool. Can I try a match? And like, he let me play a couple games, and then we started sharing the account, playing together, whatever. And then we would just watch YouTube videos and teach ourselves the game and all that, and then ended up with so we shared the account. The account Wire Angel was my dad's username.
Okay.
So, but what ended up happening was, I'd start doing well in games, and then people would friend request me and then invite me to join like voice calls on PlayStation, and I'd be like, I'd never like played an online game before. I'd never talked to anyone online playing video games, and so ended up like getting into that, making friends, whatever, and then everyone knew me, my voice as Wire Angel. So then when I ended up making Discord and Twitch and all of that, I had to use that name because that's what people knew me as. So
Oh,
then I kind of just over time stole his username, became Wire Angel. Yeah, played through the entire life of Paragon. The game died. I didn't really play any more MOBAs. I maybe got like level 50 on League, but I think I played like my 10 ranked placement games and then one more ranked game, and that's the like all I've done in that
okay.
game. But besides that, no other MOBAs at all. And then just kind of was waiting for Predecessor, was following the game, played in like the early like access weekends where they'd do like 2 3 days of like whoever wanted to could play. Played a couple of those, and then after that, eventually I was just active in the community. I knew one or two people that were in testing, ended up getting added to the internal testing for the game, and I've been doing that for 2.5 years now. So, and then here I am.
Yeah. Well, I love this type of backstory, like the little part that kind of coming like from like trying to offer something for your dad, and then you get like brought into it, and then as usually like the younger lad in the house is the best player, and he got recognized like over like us old dude that are already washed out, so we can't really like compete. And it's very interesting because like there is like a lot of people in the scene that just come like, oh, we have like thousands of hours of experience in MOBA, and from what you tell me, like it's mainly like you got Paragon, and Paragon was kind of like of a game that you really enjoy, and I guess like it's a little bit special in a sense because there's also like this connection with your dad, like playing the same game together,
Yeah,
and then we have like the revival with Predecessor. Like
yeah.
I will take the chance here to just like ask something more. It's like why did you like decide of all the Paragon zombie? Because in the end, like it was Paragon, like the game that really like brought you in. Like why did you decide to go towards Predecessor and not the others, for instance?
Um, it was kind of just I was following the development for all of them. I remember like back just after Paragon died, there were like 5 projects that were like we're doing something, and then ended up being like Fault Pred and Overprime ended up being the three because there was like Phoenix Rising, which never did anything, and then Ethereal went and did their own thing,
Yeah.
which is still pretty cool. I played it recently. Um, but then it just kind of came down to like I really liked that Paragon feel, and I liked the characters, and just followed the development of all three. Fault, I didn't like how the game visually looked, and then kind of I was like around it, and I didn't want to spend money on it just because of how it looked, and I heard people saying like, I don't know if it's worth the money, and I was like, okay, I'll hold off because, you know, I was waiting for one of the other games. I remember I downloaded Overprime back when it was a Dropbox link, and played that for like a month, and I had a really good time for like a month, and then I kind of fell out of it, and then around that time is when I got invited to do internal testing for Predecessor, and then it was limited. It was maybe a couple games a week during like set times that we were able to play, but that was enough, and the game just felt good enough. And I was talking with the devs and what their visions were for the game, and it was just like, this is the project I want to stick with. This like I feel has really good potential.
Nice. So I will ask you like the same question that I asked Lakenator like a few weeks ago. And like maybe there will be like some similarity here because I would ask you like how did you like put your team together? And I know that from Dirty Lake and Rock there was like some connection and all of
Yeah.
that. So but like I would like to have your point of view, like how did you end up like playing with Bloodjay, Pinzo, Tekken Kid,
Yeah.
all of that, like how you get together and how you created like this team, Rogue, and also like where the names come from, like if there is like a certain like significance behind it or not.
Yeah. So I've played with Blue Jay on most of the teams I've been on. We first started out with Slime's Temp was what we did back in the day. He was my jungler, I was the mid laner, and then we went to Red Dojo for a little bit. And while on Red Dojo, I was also playing with Dirty Lake and the boys. I was playing on both teams as an offlaner, which I
Okay.
don't know how that happened. Both teams just need an offlaner, and they were like, Wangle can do it. And I was like, sure, I'll try it. I'll try and learn the role.
Pe-
But I do
People don't
think I
like
have a
solo island, basically, I guess, in NA.
yeah. I don't know, but you know, I think overall I'm a better mid laner, so I'm glad to be back in mid lane again. But yeah, so was playing with Red Dojo and Dirty Lake, and it ended up being I moved away from Red Dojo just because scrim times were really rough with me being in EU.
Yeah.
Because I'd be in EU and then like one or two of the guys wouldn't be able to scrim until like really like late NA times, and I didn't want to be up at 4 a.m. when I had training for soccer in the morning at like 8. So it was just like
Yeah.
really rough to scrim. They'd have to find a sub all the time. So parted amicably. I still wish all the best to those guys, and then went with Dirty Lake and the boys. Um, Played with them for a little bit, and then after a while, we kind of like became buds with Rogue, and it was like us two were just really good friends. And then we ended up kind of like sharing a Discord for a while. We were just like, cool teams. We liked each other, and then at some point, a couple of the guys were like, "What if we did like a roster shift?" And so it went from the roster because Lakenator wanted to move back to ADC, and then there was like some roster shifts that needed to happen for that, and then shuffled up the teams a bit, and I ended up with Haru, Pinzo, and Tekken, who were on Rogue already as a team, and then me and Appy swapped, and then Nitro went off lane for Dirty Lake and the boys when he was playing jungle for Rogue, and then we had a empty jungle spot, and Blue Jay, we were like, I think he was thinking about stepping away from Red Dojo for his own reasons at the time, and so I was like, "Hey, want to come jungle for me again?" And he was like, "Hell yeah!" So that's how we got together.
Very nice. And so like we see that Rogue is already like qualified for the final phase of the PCC, and like I'm pretty sure like Dirty Lake and the boys really have a good shot at also qualifying for the final phase of the PCC. So like probably like this roster change overall like will have benefited like both team because both team are like probably gonna be quite successful. So
Yeah, and I think a lot of just how a lot of it was just kind of fitting in the pieces where they needed to be, moving me out of off lane back into mid lane, Nitro moving into off lane, and kind of how a lot of the people play together. Like I think was a really good move because Dirty Lake and the boys have like really good synergy as a team, and then we have really good synergy as a team, and it kind of just felt instantly like it clicked pretty well. So felt
yeah.
felt like a good move.
Yeah, I'm excited like to see like what will be the result in the final phase of PCC afterwards.
The PCC is going to be very interesting because I think the play-ins for this one are probably the strongest play-ins I've seen with a lot of the teams that are coming in.
Yeah, like this 6 or like 7 slot. We don't really know because I don't know like the detail on what is going to happen with royalty, like not playing
Yeah.
anymore. Will they find like a new roster to be ready for the final phase, or if they're like, I don't know like the details, but probably like people will talk about that like tomorrow during the
We might
tournament.
get bumped up to the 1 seed, which I don't know how that happened, but
Yeah. Sometimes like you're just in the right place at the right time, and that's all you have to do.
I didn't
And
even play the last tournament. I'm ending
yeah,
up in the 1st seed. It feels a little bit like cheating, but I'll take it. We have the 3 fits rule of keeping our spot because we have 3 of the roster.
yeah. No, you just have to prove yourself. So in a sense, like that's nice because you're already qualified, but at the same time, it's a little bit of pressure because like
Yeah.
people have expectation on how you are going to perform.
Yeah, we're going in as 1st seed, and there's some scary teams that are gonna be coming. So
Yeah, but yeah,
see what happens.
you have time to prepare for that.
Yeah,
There,
that's the good thing is like as a new team, it gives us more time to just like figure out what we want to do, how we play together, and not have to worry about making it mesh before the play ends. So it relieves a lot of that pressure.
so we'll take like the chance to answer like a few questions in the chat. So I would assume like Shift asked like, what is your favorite lane and hero? I would assume lane is mid lane because that's where you're playing. But as the hero, like what is your favorite hero right now?
So I like to think I'm unique because I swear most mid laners are just Gideon enjoyers, and I hate it. I actually like Gideon, but it's just the fact that every mid laner seems to be a Gideon main. I am a gadget enjoyer. I love me a gadget.
Yeah, she's a very strong pick, and I feel like it's kind of like a character that it's kind of like the player that defined the pick. Like I think Gadget is super strong, but if you don't know how to play Gadget or use her strengths, you kind of seem weak. But the people that play Gadget like so well, like for instance, if we look at Empty in the EU scene, like
Yeah,
it becomes a monster with it. And so like this
yeah,
type of pick that I kind of like, that the player really make the pick shine.
yeah. No, it's just been always Gadget has been my favorite since playing Predecessor. Since they changed her E to Adaru, it's just I love that character.
Very, very nice. And so you talk a little bit about the fact that there's no Rogue, you have the new roster, like the pieces are kind of finding their place all together. And so like I would like to ask you a little bit how do you approach like the training and Scream in general? How is like the feeling overall? Like a little bit of like maybe behind the scenes stuff about after this roster change overall.
Yeah, it's pretty good. We have Blue Jay as like our main shot caller from the jungle, probably the best position to do it. He's really good with like knowing where we're supposed to go, how to set up for it, calling when and where to do that. Pinzo as well is pretty good at calling things with him, so he aids in that. And Pinzo's really good, I think, for like team morale, I'd say. It like don't get me wrong, like he is a really good player, and I think he gets a lot of flack for being a streamer. Um, and he said some things in the past I necessarily didn't agree with, but I get he's just farming clips and wanting people to be mad so that he gets publicity, but whatever. But he is actually a really, really solid support player, and provides a lot of like really good team morale for sure. He is just a funny dude to be around. Haru, super chill. Like it's actually like crazy with our team when I'm like the bad mental one, whereas I've been like the strongest mental one on pretty much every team I've been on. So, and then we have Tekken Kid in the off lane, and if anyone has ever been in a voice and played with Tekken Kid, you just don't know what that guy's doing, but he's doing it well. We maybe get 3 comms from that guy per game, but he'll still just kind of win 2v1s for no reason. Like we had a scrim the other week where, we were fighting on an objective, we got the objective, and then we looked at the map and Tekken Kid's attacking the core on his own with 2 people defending it, and we're like, how did you get there? And he just was saying nothing. He said nothing for like 3 minutes straight.
Yeah, it doesn't want to disturb you guys when you're actually like doing the fight. Like here, it's just like enjoying his best like offlane life and just like, oh, a core. Like I eat that for breakfast every now and then. Like
Yeah,
when it's in front of me.
yeah, he is just nuts enough that we don't have to tell him anything. We'll maybe ask him like, can you come here for this objective fight? And he'll be like, yeah, and that's it.
Very nice. And I kind of like you speak about the aspect like this is something I kind of like in teams is like everyone can pull their weight, but they can pull their weight in different ways. And so like you talk a bit about like Blue Jay that is like about the shot calling, which like most people kind of like, oh, we need an in-game leader. But you also like mentioned like a guy like Pinzo that is like moral support, like being fun, like keeping the team like in a good mood, even when the going is a bit rough. And that's also like super important. Like when you're like at a certain moment in tournament, like when it's hard, it's important to have like those guys that can like remotivate everyone because sometimes it can get bad. And so for the people that are looking for like getting into the competitive scene and such, like positive mindset sometimes, like even if you're not a good shot caller, it's also like a very valuable stuff that you can bring to your team. Everyone have their own strengths, so you can like work on them and develop them. And as we can see here, apparently in Rogue we have like a pretty nice synergy overall. Everyone kind of find their space, their place, and that's basically like the start line for a recipe for success, I would say.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. We're still ironing it out. I think we've done maybe 3 scrims together, so still building those connections, but I think we have a really strong base and I'm excited to see how we grow.
Yeah. And I think also like on your side that now you're back on NA, I think it's easier like to see forward that now you're gonna scream on the right time with your teammate and all of that. So I guess it's also
Yeah,
like open up your
it's
possibility in a sense.
nice. It's nice scrimming when it's light outside instead of middle of the night. Like the best time when because I was still playing on an NA East team when I was in EU, so it was like scrims were normally at like 11 p.m. and I'm like, just
Yeah.
it's just not fun to scrim at that time, man.
Just finish your whole day. You just want to relax, enjoy like the end of your day, but you still have to practice to get better.
It's just like end of the day, like it's like the last thing I do in my day is scrim, and then as soon as scrims are over, I'm like, all right, that's it, I'm going to bed. Like,
Yeah. And also that means that I assume like at that time you don't have like this nice moment sometimes like after screams when like people can just discuss a little bit about what we have done and like enjoy like this little like post workout moment with the team basically, I guess.
yeah. Now that I'm on West, I'm behind when the scrims are being. I'm like 3 hours behind. I get, scrims are at like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. I'm having the best time of my life.
Perfect. Perfect. So like speaking of screams, so we do have like one that you have selected for us so that we can review like all together. Like I just launched the scream and the only thing I've seen is I guess you're playing against Red Dojo and you're playing Morigesh. Can you like I'm excited for that part, but can you provide a little bit more context on the scream? Like overall like Red Dojo, like a usual like partner of Scream maybe, or
So we've done 3 scrims. One was with Royalty before whatever happened with them. And then this is our second time playing against Red Dojo. So, you could say they're a partner. We just haven't really scrimmed much at all.
yeah,
Yeah, we
true.
played 2 games last night where our first game's on the patch, figuring out how to draft what's good on this patch in comp. So there are definitely things that we could take away from it, but it was a really good learning experience. And then yeah, the Morgesh pick, I'm gonna be honest, it wasn't me. I didn't pick it. I had to go pick up dinner. We played 1 game, and then I was like, all right, give me like 15 minutes. Like called in my family's order, went and picked up the dinner, came back, played the second game, and they were like, all right, you're playing Morgesh, and I was like, cool, let's do it, let's run it. So I think she is. I think there is a place for her, to be honest,
That's
in the
what
game
I was
as a
going to
meta.
ask you because I don't see the point of Merigesh right now, and so like if you can enlighten me of what you think about it, that would be perfect.
Yeah, I don't think she's the best. I think she is a counter pick, is what I'd say, because she really is good at killing people with lots of health,
Okay.
just because of the mixture of her passive and Megacosm and how those two work together. She is, she has the best like potential to kill those types of characters. Um, Even if it is harder for her to do so than someone like a Faye or Gadget would do. It is like she is the best, like she does the most damage, but she is still exploitable. So it's just about picking her into the right teams where you're able to sit behind your team maybe, or they're not able to get to you and you're able to dish out tons of damage because her R&B cooldown is basically nothing mid to late game. Her passive, the way that it interacts with Megacosm is completely nuts. How she interacts with Primal Fangtooth is even more disgusting. I don't know how that one's still in the game. So yeah, it's kind of, she is a scaling pick, and we are this meta. I've seen a lot of teams playing more with scaling picks. I've seen Gadget picked more in scrims than I've ever seen. I'm seeing a lot of Faye because she does a lot of scaling and is really good at killing tanky people. And then Morigesh is kind of the third one in that. I don't think she's quite at the level of those two, but she is like just underneath, I'd say, in terms of if you want a scaling pick.
Yeah,
Morigesh is an option.
I would assume like maybe with like all the recent change that Omeda has done to the game with like the objective not providing like global experience anymore. It's more like the local part, which means that the objective doesn't snowball as hard as they used to be. And also like the TTK being a little bit slower. Maybe that opens up a little bit more window than just like the early non-stop pressure aggression that we have seen in the past. So I guess like the team, like I guess like the meta is not like defined yet, and so that's what I also think like this weekend PCC will be like super interesting because I guess like nobody has figured out exactly what is like the strongest part of the game. Like only 3 days to practice, like you can't get there, and so like team are just like trying to get like I think a breath of fresh air to get out of like this. Oh, we need to win the lane every single time, then get objective, snowball, win the game.
Yeah. No, I think there is still a lot of value in that. Like you see both games that we played against Red Dojo, they picked Gideon. I've heard talkings from other top team mid laners saying that they still think Gideon is the best mid in the game, which a lot of it is probably down to how much pressure he can get early with his E. He can just play super, super safe and or get like tons of shove on the wave with his Q and R&B and then insta roam. He clears it almost instantly after an item and is able to walk everywhere, apply pressure on the map. So it's kind of just about if your team's able to deal with that pressure and if they have, it's about like setting the waves up correctly. So if you're going to be picking like a scaling pick in the mid lane, you're probably going to lose out on some of that pressure, and it's up to your team to kind of play around it. Especially in this game that we played against them, they had a Chimera as well and a Kira, which is a lot of early game pressure. So, and those types of picks are very good at the minute. So
Perfect.
It's just with the recent patch, there is more of a avenue for scaling picks.
That's great. So like I will just use that as a transition so we can jump into the game. Like you said, like probably Morigesh scaling pick can probably like get abused in the early game and the enemy team can take advantage of that pressure. And so that will be interesting to see how you actually like dealt with all of that during the game, if it actually happens. So I'm just gonna switch the scene and now we can see like the match. And we have already like Wangle like flying like a beautiful bird into the sky on Morigesh with like a perfect like position. Like we feel the whole movement of the Morigesh body in that picture, I would say. But yeah, so quickly we can go over like both team. Like we said, this time we have on the orange team, but since I'm like spectating Wangle, it will be the blue team on the minimap. It's a bit confusing, but it is what it is. And we have so Rogue with Aru, Pinzo Dunzo, Bloodshay, Wangle, and Tekken Kid. Of course, we're gonna follow up Wangle on the Morigesh here. And they're facing like Red Dojo with like Natty, Frankie B, Peak, Atomic, and Monster Truck Dan. Like, I don't know if Monster Truck Dan is a rename or not.
That is Bartledew.
Okay, and Barbaldu, if I'm not mistaken, is Legionnaire, right?
No, those are two different people.
Really? Because like,
yes.
Because I've done like some data extraction and like their player ID, or maybe like Barbaldu like renaming Legionnaire at some point, but we have like in the data we have Legionnaire, Barbaldu, and then like Monster Truck Dan from like the extraction I've done at some point, but who knows?
I think there was a point where I remember seeing a clip of a Legionnaire walking around the game after Legionnaires' supposed suspension.
Okay.
And I would believe that probably was Bartledew if I was to guess. So there are two different people.
Nice.
That is for sure. I've been in voice call with both of them at the same time, so I can confirm they're not the same person.
Thank you for confirming here. Like sometimes, like with all these name change, like I don't know who is who, and I get confused like pretty easily.
Yeah, I've been known to change my name once or twice in scrims. Remember one time I went into a scrim against Royalty and Tang was subbing and he was named Wangle's Nightmare. And so we went into a scrim against Immune and I renamed myself to Tang's Nightmare and Tang was subbed. He
Yeah.
wasn't even there. I was so sad.
You tried, but yeah.
I was so heartbroken. But yeah.
It can be confusing. Like, and Immune is no like short about like doing this type of thing. Like we remember like Clearcast renaming his name in the final of the Fang boost to being himself like Samwise, and people were like, "Why is Sam playing for Immune?" Like, and starting to create like some weird discussion. That was very fun. But let's jump back into the game because that's what we're here to see. So do you want to say something about like the composition? Like you said, you weren't there for the draft, so I guess you maybe don't know like the whole process, but maybe you can share a little bit of like how you approach draft as a team, especially on this new patch. Like, is it just like about like testing stuff, or do you already like kind of know what you want to go for, or?
This is definitely a testing stuff scrim. Like that Feng Mao, we don't usually pick that. The Decker we're trying to pick a lot just to make Pinzo practice it because it's his least played support. Mostly because he's on like 100 ping because he has like a weird routing internet issue. So even though he's like closer to east than me, he has like 40 more ping.
Okay.
Which is kind of weird. So we're making him practice the Decker, so we want to pick that a lot. But besides that, like, we like giving Tech in the crunch, but like that Feng Mao pick is we were trying it out. That Decker is we're trying to make Pinzo practice it. So I don't fully know what the order was of the draft. If I'm gonna be honest, the draft was one of the main talking points from our scrims, but
okay.
So
let's see how the Morrigesh Gideon matchup is going to be. Like, can you talk a little bit about that matchup? Like you said, like Gideon apply a lot of pressure, but how you approach that matchup in the early stage of the game?
Yeah, so I think what I've seen of the current Gideon meta is just full damage, like damage, and that kind of stuff. It's no longer like Bruiser with True Silver going for big teamfight winning ults with his ult base damage being decreased. You kind of have to build all the damage, and most of his burst comes from hitting his Q RMB and his passive. So it's a little bit of a different playstyle for the Gideon, but he is strong. It just means that his ult is less of a big teamfight winning thing because he can get easily stunned out of it because pretty much no Gideon is building True Silver this patch from what I've seen. But yeah, so he's going to be going a lot of damage, and his rocks do kind of chunk me for pretty much the entire game because of how Gideon is. He doesn't really have like a point in the game where he's weak, whereas Morrigesh definitely is weak and is very discernibly weak early, and then gets Megacosm, she can start doing things, and you get like 2 or 3 items, and you're like, okay, I'm a menace now, and that's when you like really come online.
And so basically, I guess you're just like trying to weather a storm early on, get your farm up. Probably like also I think you will try to not like offer like free rotation to the Gideon, but how much can you really do that in a sense?
Yeah, it is difficult because Morgesh's wave clear is pretty bad. If I was there, I probably would have picked something like Fair Gadget just to at least match his clear. So he can't just QRB the minions and then walk to another lane while I'm stuck there killing the 3 melee minions still. In the early stages, the clear is better because of the buff they did to her passive, so I can max my RMB in lane and go for better damage in fights, and then my passive will be what clears the wave more than anything. Maybe against a Gideon, I need to max the Q, but most most laners. I can just go for super, like, playing for fights with the Morgesh and trying to be as big in the fights as possible because I'm not gonna ever outpush pretty much anyone in the mid lane, if I'm gonna be honest.
And so here, like, we see the little ward to try to get some information of where is the enemy jungler if you come to contest the river buff, I would assume. But you don't take any risk of going, like, further into the jungle.
Yeah, I think we had ward on his red buff level 1, so we knew he started blue. And then I wanted to know when he was walking into the mid lane. And then, you know, saw him on that ward. Ended up, like, walking to the other side of the lane so I couldn't get ganked there. I don't know why I didn't go for that right river buff instead, but
Allied tower under attack.
something to take away, I guess. I haven't actually watched these scrims back yet, so
It's also like a
controlled at some points.
good moment also like to see like maybe like the thing you did great, the thing that you could have improved. You're definitely like here there was like potential like to trade like river buff, but so far like Atomic is playing like pretty passive in this lane. And are you like happy about that? Because like do you think like Gideon can punish you or not?
A lot of the level 1 to 3 was I autoed once or twice on the wave, and then I realized what was happening because he'd stopped autoing, and so it became like a standstill of us being in just the middle of the lane because he wanted the wave to push into him because I'm a Morgesh and he can punish me. And so a lot of this is either matching his clear or not really wanting it to push into him, because if it pushes into him, Atomic loves to freeze his mid waves. And then, you know, I'm against the Chimera jungle, Gideon mid. It is very difficult for me to get away if they get onto me. So a lot of it is kind of just chilling, living in the lane, getting to my crest, getting to Megacosm. I do hit RMBs on him to dissuade him from like coming in to me and trading and all that. So it's more, the RMBs are kind of just to, they're not about playing aggressive and going for kills, they're about playing aggressive to not die.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed so far. We have Bludgeon being around, but every time you go for a Cosmic Rift on you, you just like answer by damage, and here like you get counter gank on the timing that you were trying to gank with Bludgeon.
Yeah, it was a little bit unfortunate there. We weren't able to get Atomic down. If I'd been able to walk up, we would have, but yeah, I just go back to farming the wave, try and go for super hyper scaling build, especially with the new Azure core.
Okay.
Or the alchemical rod you can buy for 10.50, and it's basically just a full item, especially with no Bellica in this game because they opted for phase. It just makes me scale really, really hard. So delay the Megacosm early fighting potential in order to become extremely strong around the mid game. So there will be a point here in which Atomic is just stronger than me. I get the wave shove, but as you see there, Atomic loving to just stall his wave there.
And so like the dual lane managed to find a kill apparently. I was like watching Wangle here. So we have like Natty getting the first blood of the game. I guess there was like both jungler that tried to go there, but
I think it was a 1-for-1 and Haru got the first blood, so he said it was worth.
You see that
Or,
Pete died.
oh no. Yeah, no, I think that might have been a different game, but yeah, it was unfortunate that we lost Haru there. I think what we did was we set up a dive on the right side and didn't coordinate tower aggro. Peak loves to roam mid. I had to flash there because Gideon had the ult, so I didn't want to, you know, if I get caught in that, then...
Yeah. And that's something like, sometimes like I see like a lot of people that just like keep their flash until they're almost dead and then they flash, and sometimes they keep dying. And even if you don't die, like you have to go back to base. Like here we can see, okay, you use a flash, true, but you're completely fine to stay in the line, keep being relevant. So as players, like if you see that you're out of position, just use your flash and be safe.
Yeah, yeah. The big thing with these like scaling mid laners at the moment is just being in the lane long enough until you're able to go fight and provide a lot of value to your team. see Atomic walking into our jungle here, just ults there. I think we try and get him there.
And here we
Yeah,
can see.
he just has gray buff, so not really anything I can do. And I'm a Morigesh that doesn't have a full item yet, so is unfortunate, but he gets a kill there.
And just get in, he can walk into your jungle, turn space away, gray buff, and you can't catch him.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was a lot of the kind of issue, I'd say. Yeah, we get walked in by the duo lane as well. I almost die. We do get a good fight. I'm calling for them to try and go on Natty, but with Frankie B being there full health and our team having taken a bit of damage, it is unfortunate.
It's also
The most unfortunate part was I went to fight Natty because I thought we could blow him up, and so I marked him and lost my mark on Atomic, and Atomic was the one that was ultable.
I feel like it's one of like the hard part about like Morigesh is like most of your damage come from your RMB if you max that first, but also like then if you're not on the right curse target, that can be a problem in team fights. So it's definitely like the kit seems super simple, but there's like some subtlety like that is not that easy to get.
Yeah. Yeah, I think at this point here, I'm calling for my duo lane to try and fight against Natty and Peak, because I haven't been able to, like, there's not really an opportunity, but I'm saying, like, if they go for a fight, then they should win it, because I still have Natty marked, and that's one thing that a lot of people forget about Morigesh, is if you mark somebody, you just have the mark on them until either of you dies. So if you both back, you can go 10 minutes straight, and you can keep the same mark. There have been once or twice in scrims where, like, I'll have someone marked for like 2 whole minutes before I ult them, and I still ult them and get the kill because they just forget that they've been marked like a year ago.
True.
So it is a thing to keep in mind with Morigesh, is just keeping track of who she has marked, because it can make your trades, when you can trade, really difficult.
Here we can see like Atomic connect with Void Breach and Cosmic Rift, and that's half of the HP that disappear.
Yeah, he ends up ulting. I tell Blue Jay to keep going because I'm gonna ult and get him low, and then he knows that he's gonna die because he got ulted, so I had to go for the kill on me, and I ended up getting the kill for it.
So in the meantime, they took advantage of the pressure from Atomic to get like the first Fangtus of the game. I guess that's one of like the problem that you can have with a Morigesh mid, is you don't gonna have the pressure mid lane, which opens up like easier for the enemy team to actually get like for a few objective. And I would assume like also like the phase Kira lane is probably like applying quite a lot of pressure as well.
Yeah, and the Chimera. I think that was one of the biggest takeaways from our draft, was we just gave them aggressive lanes in like 4 out of their 5 picks, which was really rough for us to deal with, especially with the Feng Mao, who just can't box the Kai. If it was like a Sev or a Rampage, then he can live against the Kai, but it was a difficult draft for us, so yeah, losing the first Feng Tooth is pretty expected, but besides that, you know, not much we can do.
Yeah. It's also like something like that you mentioned, like you use the first Fangtus, it's pretty expected. So if it's part of the plan, like sometimes it's not that big of a deal. Like you have to recognize the strengths and the weakness of your composition, and don't try to force stuff that you can't really force, in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're like, you know, he's applying pressure, we're gonna lose the Fang Tooth, let's try and get a kill. It was a lot of just, like, you look at their team comp and kind of, they just press all of their R buttons and they kind of win the fights, is kind of what their comp does. Like, you got Kira ult, you got Gideon ult, you got Richter ult, Kyle, like, I don't know what else you want. You just kind of win the fights by pressing R. So a lot of our game plan this game was like, you know, we have a Feng Mao, we have a Crunch, we have a Decker, we can like split people apart. So it's just about, you know, not letting them fight as 5 was what our plan was to try and do for the game.
And you have a lot of like kind of in a good sense, like you have a lot of pick that is just like going like around the team fight. You're not really grouping up to fight, so in a sense to kind of counter like the full like wombo combo they can do. But still, you need to be careful because between a Chimera, a Gideon, a Rictor, they have a lot of way to just like pick up target that are kind of hard to get away. Like the Morigesh especially, I think for you like the positioning will be hard in later stage of the game.
Yeah. Does this show me as 1 and 3?
So I don't know if that's them or you that got the mini prime. I would assume it's them.
I believe it was, yes.
And here we can
This
see.
replay showing me is 1 and 3? This is blasphemy. I haven't died yet.
Allied tower.
Yeah, you're only 1 and 0. Don't trust the numbers you see in the replay mode.
I love replay mode numbers.
It's so deceiving. Like you can't trust any single number you see on that screen most of the time. So don't do it.
Yeah, so there we rotate over. A lot of like what we wanted to do was like outnumber them, try and like make the fights weird for them. End up running mid as well, getting atomic there. We do lose, I think, all 3 tier 1 towers here, which was kind of unfortunate. But yeah, I think it's just a little bit about setting waves, but their team can kind of just destroy the waves with all their characters. So
Still, like you managed to get like 2 kills out of it. You kind of, I guess, like kind of deathball a little bit just to maybe also get like the confidence back. See that okay, we can fight them, we can actually like kill them if we're like grouping a little bit. But yeah, like you said, in terms of structure, like no, you don't have any defense, so you have to be extra careful. For the future.
Yeah, we have a crunch as our only front line, so definitely a defensive game to play.
Yeah, and it's your only front line when the enemy team has a Rictor on their side, so that means that the crunch will have like probably like trouble to actually like be able to really frontline correctly.
Yeah, they also have a kind of nuts comp with the Richter offlane and the phase because they can just root from halfway down the lane and then hit the hooks. So
True.
Even under towers, it's not fully safe. So might be all right to give the towers there and just play back and scale up. I have the Megacosm here, so I am saying like I'm pretty strong here. I'm still scaling. Once I get Wraith leggings is kind of around the time that I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm online and scary. But once I have the Megacosm, it is like I am gonna be at all the fights I can. I do a lot of damage now. Here, I think we're going for the Fang Tooth. Frankie gets caged, he's not able to jump in. So we go for the fight. I get blinded, so completely miss my Q. End up taking Natty down. Frankie's on our backline, unfortunately. We turn onto Atomic, we get him, but the Richter's able to lock in. The Chimera is still alive because he's been ulted by the phase, and it's just a lot of the issues we had this game came from not being able to kill the Chimera at all with the phase.
So like we can see that I don't know how you did it in that fight. Like you were kind of low in the middle of the pack, kind of hard to find like a safe spot, but you still managed to jiggle all around and get out when the rest of the team and still like deal a lot of damage. I think in the end it was a 3-4-2 and you still secure the Fang Tooth, which when you have this scaling like aspect of like the Morigesh, it's very important to not let like the first 3 Fang Tooths on the enemy team. So you kind of already like remove like a big problem that could have been if they stayed so far with the 3 Fang Tooths.
Yeah, that was a lot of the plan there was like, you know, it's okay to give up a kill trade for Fang Tooth because we don't want them to just get the first 3 Fang Teeth and get the bonus power, because then what's the point of our hyper scaling characters when they just get the free bonus power anyways? So yeah, and then here just trying to chill because, you know, they have a phase that can walk into the lane and root me. They have a Chimera that can jump on me. They have a Richter that can hook me. So a lot of it's just playing chill here, trying to get Haru to farm up a lot because we know he can play defensively there. I think Atomic steps up there and then gets hit by everything. So I'm able to drop here, they're unable to stun me out of it, Atomic goes down, but then I think Blue Jay just gets blown up by the Chimera. It's kind of nuts how much damage she could do. And then we try and collapse, but FaZe is able to pull him out.
So I almost thought like that Atomic was going to leave with the shield from the Soul Bearer, but then we have the damage from the Megacosm and the passive, and it's enough.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of this was I was trying to kill Peak at points, because he was just keeping the Chimera alive a ton, but yeah.
And that's a good point that you mentioned here. Like when you're facing a FaZe, like the easiest character to kill is actually the FaZe herself, because she can't like displace herself, and she's very like not like it's very hard for a FaZe to stay alive when people are focusing her. So like don't focus the target that is Link, focus the FaZe if you want to get rid of the Link.
Yeah. But yeah, I think a lot of like we like to play a lot of like scaling characters in mid, because if I'm gonna be honest, I think my laning phase is probably one of my weakest things. I need to talk with Aki about that. Him and I are gonna talk, because he's just nuts at laning, so he's gonna help me get better at that. But at the meantime, while I'm still working on it, we really like these hyper scaling mid picks, because once I get to the mid and late game, I know I can perform. It's just about me getting there. They form and rotate for mini, so we end up losing that. But that's kind of a lot of our play style. Like we let Tekken do his thing, because he's just gonna get a ton of pressure on the map. So they're always gonna commit like 2 or 3 people to him.
And so here we can see you have to use the flash away. They use Coal and I think maybe even Black Coal. So in the end, you're pretty safe with the flash out.
Yeah, it was fine. But yeah, so a lot of our play style is Tekken usually is able to just get tons of pressure, meaning they'll have to commit 2 or 3 people to his lane, usually to stop him. So we're able to just get pressure elsewhere on the map or get farms. We have like Pinzo can rotate all the time, but like me and Haru can just farm up a ton. Both of us are good enough at farming that we can get really, really strong. And then once we are strong, we have good enough team fighting. Tekken makes tons of space. Blue Jay's really good at making space and calling targets, and me and Haru have good enough positioning that we usually can win most team fights, I'd say, if we're even, but
it can be like the thing, like when you're playing like scaling comp, it's this like thing of like managing to stay even. And here we can see like at least like against like your direct opponent, like Atomic, like you're doing pretty good in terms of CS. It's completely even. You managed to get like a few kills. So overall, like we can see that the Morigesh is scaling nicely. And here we see that you also like kind of switch lane. Like where are those minions? Okay.
It's kind of hard to tell with the minimap how it is, but yeah, a lot of it is just kind of getting the pressure where we needed. So they were heavy pressuring mid, so we sent duo lane there. I went to catch the wave, especially with how bad my clear is. We'd rather have the Drongo and Decker there to clear any like heavily pressured lanes, so I'll just go wherever the other farm is, wherever they have like a little bit less pressure maybe.
And so like here, like we're 21 minutes in, and so I want to take the moment to pause. Like we see that Red Dojo just like managed to get like the third Fang Tooth of the game, so it's the second one for them. And so we're starting to reach like more this like late game part, or like the end of the mid game in a sense. You scale a little bit and such, and I would like to ask you like kind of at that point, like what is like the feeling, what is the plan, how do you like see how to get to the end of that game with a winning solution, or maybe you don't?
So I'm gonna be honest, I'd say the biggest issue that we have, I think, is our Feng Mao pick.
Okay.
Just Frankie B is, you can see 6-0-0 there, 200 CS. That guy is large, and so a lot of like, yeah, just with how Chimera is, with how Overlord is, he is just going full health, so he's going to have he's gonna have tons of health just for free is just how it is. But then with how Overlord is now, he's still gonna be doing quite a bit of damage with how they made it scale. Sapphire's is gonna give him that 20% increase in health that you can't do anti-heal to. And even if we have anti-heal, he's got Peak with Wellspring healing him all the time. So
True.
that Chimera is the scary part of their team. Like that is the issue. And our comp, really all we have is like Tekken Kid to deal with it. Like when you look at our comp, or it's like me and Tekken Kid, but if he jumps on me, then it's difficult. Whereas Tekken maybe can actually 1v1 him. So it's kind of just looking at that and being like, okay, maybe we can't kill the Kai right now, but can we, kill the Kira, because Kira is a super strong pick in the current meta. I've heard people talking about maybe she's bannable with how good she is as an ADC. Like getting on Peak as well, and then Atomic, I think we're comfortable in being able to get him out of his ult because we have the Decker stun. So looking to stun him out immediately, I think, and then blow him up from there. But it's a lot about getting to the back line behind the high damage Kai and the high CC Richter is just like how we were looking at this game and trying to figure out how to play it.
So I definitely can see like probably like I guess like the phase should be like probably like one of the characters that is pretty easy to pop up. Like you have a Crunch, you have like a Feng Mao, you can like maybe cut a Hive like from long range, this type of things that can like maybe like help you. And if the phase is out, it's still like a rough fight, but at least like maybe like you have a better chance. Yeah, let's see how it pans out. But it was insightful to see like a little bit. When you're playing there, like as team, like you need to see, okay, what is our strength, what is our weakness, and how can we get there, and how we can like actually like sometimes you're not in the best solution. The draft can be a little bit rough, but you still have to try to do the best with what you have.
Yeah, and we are playing a lot around me this game. Like I am our kind of main source of everything. If you see, I'm 3-0 and 3. I believe I live here because Morgish move speed is definitely okay. Please don't change it. Please just leave it as it is.
It's also like a risky spell because sometimes you need to use it to actually deal damage, but if you do so, like you kind of lose like your escape potential. So I kind of like this duality of the spell.
It's actually not even the E that I have an issue with. It's the Wraith Leggings. Oh. The Wraith Leggings 5 seconds of move speed is not okay.
Especially like you can keep spamming the RMB, so you're like almost always under like the buff, I would assume.
Yeah, like realistically, I think I should have died there. When I got ganked, I probably should have been punished. But, I got 40% movement speed for 5 seconds, so didn't matter.
So yeah. Unfortunately, there's like Blue Jay that get picked up on the right side of the map. Well, it's the left side because you're the orange team, but it doesn't really matter. And I guess like here, like the enemy team is like waiting for like maybe like better opportunity to go for the all prime, and also or the Fang Tooth, like the primal respawning. And I guess like on your side, it's mainly like, okay, we're gonna try to maybe like find kills if we can, but otherwise like we're just like gonna play passive and try to contest those objectives, I would assume.
Yeah, we see Atomic going in here. We do look to fight him. He goes into ult. I'm able to burst him down with mine, but I'm low enough that I'm scared here. I maybe could have turned on to Peak because Natty didn't end up looking at me, but I try and wrap around behind the Crunch in order to help fight. I don't want to be in front of him in any scenario. This one I was annoyed about. I was unable to target Natty even though I had markup. Because if you saw there, he got pulled and stuck on the cage, and it jostled him around, and I wasn't able to target him with it, but yeah. So, unfortunately, lose Tekken there. We're able to kill Atomic, but... So 1v1 in that full fight, but we had Blue Jay down already, so... Did Blue Jay die again? I can't tell.
I say like overall like in the end it was like a 1v2 because like we lose like both the crunch and blowjay, but I was quite impressed by like the amount of damage. Like Atomic is out of position like for a split second and you just like chunk of half of his health and then you just use the ultimate and he dies basically.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this character does a ton of damage. I think I was top damage in the lobby, if I remember. It was just the amount of healing and the amount of overall just health that they had was difficult to do. End up dodging the hook, luckily, but yeah, we do just lose the prime because we don't have a smite. We try and run them down. I forget who I have mark on. They're able to make peak flash there, but you know, we're looking at this and we're like dying right there. I think was really bad for us because like dying before that, I mean, because we lost blowjay and crunch, so we had no ability to walk into the orb prime pit without just getting blown up.
Yeah.
Meaning they got orb prime for free and it's on primal fangtooth timer, so they're gonna have prime for primal, which is also their third fangtooth. So this is kind of where the game becomes like really difficult because they have prime, so they're just stronger than us because of it. Even if the game was semi-even before, they're going for third fangtooth and primal. But yeah.
And at some point, like here, like okay, you're super far behind in terms of team. They can like snowball. Is it like already like the moment that you can tell yourself as a team, like now we have to just like go for it, like try to send it on the primal, or do we just say like okay, we're still like we believe in our scaling, we're just gonna play passive and defend against under inhibitor? Like what was like the idea at that point here in the game?
I believe we called because I think we said we're unable to fight it. We walk in, I think we try and what we do is we have Atomic over there trying to stop Tekken, and so we call it's a 4v4 and we try and stop them from doing it, but blowjay just gets rotated on and taken out. Like we believe in Tekken to do his thing. He ends up getting the solo kill on Atomic, which is really good for us because he's able to keep the pressure there. So our plan was to try and let Tekken do his thing, and then you know they have to send someone back, and that's when we get the pressure. So we're able to stop them doing primal with Tekken's pressure, but unfortunately with blowjay dead, we're not really able to do much here. So we just decided to try and push waves where we can. And yeah, I'm just not able to fight Frankie. Like he hit me with 1 Q and did that much. So.
Yeah, the game era is scary. Still a very huge shutdown, so that's something that I guess like the team would like to get their hands on, but won't be easy.
Yeah. Yeah, our whole thing here is just trying to wait out their prime. Believe we call to go in here. Yeah. We get the full CC onto the phase. Natty ends up ulting. Goes for me. I stasis for my cooldowns, and then blowjay executes. So good fight from us there, able to pick them, but a lot of it was just, you know, our game plan was to isolate them, get these winning fights, and then do something, but then I believe from here we end up not really getting anything important because they have the Gideon hard shoving in the mid, they have Bartle coming in on the Richter, almost killing Haru on his own, so we're not able to just insta-go for primal. We have to stay back and fight and defend inhibs. So then, by the time we kill Bartle, we come clear this wave, it's, you know, Natty and Peak are both back up, so it's difficult for us to look for something.
Yeah, here we can see like one of the parts when you don't have true front lines and you don't have like picks like Narabash or Mule that can enable a crunch or like this like more off front line pick to really like keep being a front line, and we can see like it's a big problem for you that game to be able to just like take space in the river, like you're really like not really allowed to walk there at all.
Yeah, because if we run into the Chimera, he kind of just jumps on us and then we take half our HP and it's difficult. So yeah, we're kind of just relying on Tekken for solo frontline. It's difficult for my character because I like to just sit behind people and deal tons of damage. Difficult for the Drongo as well. Drongo less so, but yeah.
And we have Pardell do that say like, damn, whoever drafted for Red Dojo is nuts. And I guess like maybe he's part of this equation here.
Yeah, as I mentioned, a lot of our talk was our draft from this game. I think you can kind of see why now. There was just a lot of things that we gave up in draft, like we gave them kind of a dream comp, I'd say.
And I would assume like it's the Rampage and the Severarg that have been like the two bans, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay.
An allied inhibitor is under attack.
That much I do know. I don't know what the order of any of the picks were, but I do know those were the two bans.
So once again, like we can see once again, like Tekken Kid trying to apply pressure 1v1. Like so far, like you love to, like you said, like offering like some those 1v1 on Tekken Kid and relying on the fact that he's a monster in those matchup to try to alleviate pressure for your team. And so far, like it's been 10 minutes and you kind of like denied the all-prime. You didn't lose any inhibitor despite like being super far behind. So
yeah, no, we were able to delay this game out because we do scale really well. I think this is my one mistake of the game. Like my one genuine mistake was that, like I saw him there, I knew he was there, but I didn't know that he knew I was there. Yeah, Bartle with the insta hook ult, I shouldn't have pathed that way. I thought we could maybe look for something on Natty, but that was probably my one major mistake of this game.
And it's what like when you're a caster that have like no real escape, like one single mistake like that can just like cost a lot for your team. It's so
I'm most of our damage, so they know we just cannot fight with me dead. So they're able to get this for free, and then believe Orb Prime's coming up soon, and then once you have double buffs, it's rough, but
so you're still like a little bit down. So we just have to wait for you to respawn. And apparently Bartledo is actually Legionnaire. I just confirmed that in chat. Maybe. I don't know. Kind of weird all the time. But yeah.
Hey man, I'm just telling you what I've heard.
Sure.
You know.
It's
I might be an unreliable source.
Well, the anonymous like aspect of the internet, like you can be whatever you want, wherever you want. It's a nice part about it. So here like we're looking about a fight, I guess.
Yeah, we're looking. I get a mark on Peak. I missed the Q, unfortunately. I just want to kill Peak. Luckily, we're able to dive on him and I think take him down, right? But Haru gets ridiculously low because of Primal, ends up dying. Pinzo, I think, gets ticked by Primal. I can't really walk in anywhere. So yeah, was unfortunate.
Allied inhibitor is under attack.
It was again like here we can see like at the beginning of the team fight. Unfortunately, like you almost have to be in the front line to be able to deal damage because there's like nobody that can really create space, and so it makes like everything very hard. Like you said, I think like Morigesh can have like damage here. Like I can see that in that match, but I guess you really need like kind of a front to back team comp to be able to create space, and you just like spam your hive, spam your RMB like from the safety of like a Steel or a Sevrog that is just like creating space.
Yeah, like the big frontliners like Rampage, Sev, Steel, Richter are all really good with Morigesh as well as FaZe, and we had none of them in this draft, so difficult to like do what the character likes to do. That's the thing with Morigesh, I think, is she fits really good into certain drafts, but you can't just outright pick her like you can do with like a Gideon, a Faye, a Gadget.
And also like one thing I think is also like since you don't have the front line, it's hard to enter like pits to defend like objectives, as we have seen like from the whole game. It's kind of like of a problem, but also like the fact that we have Morigesh, like Morigesh is good like I think at destroying like one target, but then you don't have like those black hole, those Tesla dome, those fly trap, those big ultimate that in those pit team fight can be like very game changing. And so it's also like another piece that makes like I guess the objective control kind of rough for your team in that match.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
And so we have a Soul Reaper raiding with 53 people to see, like, I guess is going to be the end of the rogue in that scream, I would assume. Like here they're starting to knock at the door, already getting the inhibitor on the right side.
Allied inhibitor
Yeah, a
is
little
under
bit.
attack.
You know, they have double Fang Tooth, or they have third Fang Tooth, they have Primal Fang Tooth. I think the Primal just wore off here, is what the call was. But yeah, the Chimera is just able to walk under our tower and just go onto all three of our backline and do whatever he likes, so, you know, it is what it is. Game ends here, but...
And Frankie, like, the monster of that scream, like, 8-0 and 5, couldn't really, like, get control, like you said, kind of like the draft making it hard, and the camera, like, I feel like, and like I will ask you like your opinion on that, but I feel like the new patch is definitely like something that make camera like relevant again in the meta. Like I see like camera like playing more, and it's actually like in so many games he actually like this super strong force that is very very hard to kill.
Yeah, I have talked with a couple junglers, and some of them are ranking him second in terms of jungle prio. You know, he's kind of, it's like Rampage, and then Sevarog's somewhere in there. I actually don't quite know how Sevarog jungle is. I haven't seen it in a scrim. I know it's really good in casual because people don't invade in casuals, but it's not, I haven't seen if it just gets abused in scrims. But like after Rampage, I see lots of people saying like Kai Crunch are similar levels, and it's kind of matchup dependent. So
it's also
yeah,
like
Kai is very good this patch, I'd say.
Yeah, I guess overall like the Bruiser like get the better part of the cake with the change of the TTK. So like camera laterally, like everything that I've sustained, I guess like get a buff, because like if you take like longer to die, that means that you can sustain longer, and it actually like make all of that like really mattering in the end. I also like something. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to point out, Frankie didn't even build Void Helm that game. He built Crystalline. If he built Void Helm, I actually think we could just shoot him for like a solid minute and he just wouldn't die. So, but yeah.
I also like want to take the chance, because I've like, when I've been watching like the recent like NA scream, like in the previous patch, like it was Rampage and Rictor the top two jungler, and now I see like a lot of Rictor in the off lane. Like, do you know why like people are starting to love so much Rictor in the offlane, and he actually like got off of the jungle at all?
A lot of it was the buffs that they did. They gave him quite a lot of health and quite a lot of armor. So most of Richter's bad matchups in the offlane are like Crunch, Grux, like AD things that can kind of just run him down. And so with the huge durability buffs that they gave him, it is really difficult to kill him, and he scales really, really well. He just is super tanky. So with the change that they did to him, he is just able to kind of live in the off lane way better this patch.
Okay.
You know, the buff to his health, I think, doesn't affect his E actually, now that I think about it, because I think his E is bonus health, if I remember. But yeah, like Richter's able to live a lot more in the off lane, so he's really good there. I think he still is a solid jungler from what I've seen. I just think he is a little bit worse due to Kai being better, because from what I know, Kai is really good into the Richter, so that bumped him down a little bit in the jungle, because last patch Kai was pretty bad, and now he's quite good again, so that was kind of, that's at least what I've seen in terms of the jungle meta.
And at the same time also like we're only like 3 days into the patch, so of course like there is still like a lot to discover, and it's not like easy. So it's just like the little bits of pieces that people that are starting to actually like try to figure out the meta, because of course like for like I think like most of the people in the chat already know, but tomorrow there is like the PCC like group phase that will like start. Wangle will not be playing because like he got like the free golden ticket directly into the final phase because he's part of Rogue. So on that regard, you won't have the chance to see Wangle, but I guess that's also
I'm free riding.
Yeah,
exactly. I have my golden ticket. I get to just sit back in my chair, just Yeah.
And so I
Great.
will like just take the chance to like, who are you rooting for, like on the team that are participating tomorrow?
That's. I'm gonna be honest. I don't even know a lot of the teams that are playing. Um, I think one team I'm really interested in seeing because I haven't seen them at all yet is the new team with Pablo, Vecron, Ray, Shin, and the Snoop.
Yeah,
I think that is,
like that's some
I think it
strong
comes
player.
down to, yeah, I think it comes down a lot to how much some of those players actually play the game. But I think that is very much a team to look out for. That I'm going to be really interested in seeing how they play. But besides that, I don't really like. I'm in and around the Pred community. I'm around EU. I'm around NA. I know so many people in this community that I can't really choose a team to support. Like, I have friends on most of the teams, I'd say. So I'm
So
just,
you're just
whatever
gonna
happens, happens.
enjoy
I
your
hope.
weekend basically. Like you're just gonna sit there, enjoy like some good like competitive
Yeah.
some good competitive predecessor. Also like take advantage of that all those teams are playing, like crushing their teeth on the new meta, so you can extract as much information as you can for your own final phase like 2 weeks from there, even though there will be a patch in the meantime. But yeah, you don't have this stress of figuring it all out after the TTK change, which I think it's also like kind of a nice touch in a sense.
Yeah, no, it is cool for the competitive scene when big patches like that come in, because then all the teams are like, okay, now we gotta hit scrim and scrim and scrim, because like we really want to figure out this stuff and see what really is good. So, it's always fun. You get to play competitive games more, which are some of my favorite times playing Predecessor. So yeah, really really cool and exciting time. I'm interested to see what ends up being good, who ends up winning in the play-ins. So yeah, guess we'll just wait and see.
Very, very nice. So I guess we can like just end up like this whole like in the mind of a pro like on that nice note. Like we're all excited for the competitive stuff that will like start tomorrow. I would like to once again like thank you Wangle for accepting the invitation and being here tonight, sharing like all the detail and being transparent about all of that, because I know like sometimes it's like behind the scenes stuff, so it's not always like easy to just like share it openly. So thanks a lot for that. It was a pleasure to have you tonight, or this morning, afternoon. Like I get better. I get better.
Whatever time it is for you. Thank you for having me on, though. Appreciate it. I love the community here. I love being able to, you know, be around, be on streams, assist it in any way, get people excited. So, yeah, thank you so much for having me. You're a wonderful host.
Thank you, and as usual, like thank you everyone in the chat for being there, watching the show, and also like exchanging with us. I know it's not as interactive as the other like moment in stream, but it's also like because there's like kind of like an agenda that we're following. But be sure that I read every single thing. Sometimes you can even see me like smiling because I just read a comment that make me like laugh a little bit. Once again, like thank you everyone. Have all a wonderful weekend. Enjoy like the competitive game this weekend. Once again, like I keep saying it, but because it's the great thing that we have, like it's the PCC group stage tomorrow. And so yeah, like thank you everyone for being there. You're all the best. Once again, thank you Wangle. Enjoy all your time. Have a wonderful weekend. And little thing, I forget about that, but for 2 weeks there won't be any Mugi's prime time, unfortunately. I have some like in real life stuff that I have to attend. So we will see all you like in 3 weeks, and it will probably be a meta talk about the final phase of the PCC, and maybe Wangle will be like the victor at that moment. So we have to see.
Don't jinx me, man. Don't say that out loud. Only in thoughts, never out loud. You can't jinx me like that. But no, I think it's just gonna be fun. I always love playing in tournaments, and yeah, win, lose, whatever. I'm gonna have fun. So
Yeah.
really exciting times, and yeah.
We'll see then. So thank you everyone, and bye bye everyone.